Today is Hasselblad Day. Welcome to my camera blog, and today we'll talk about the Hasselblad Flex Body, and I have one right here. This is what they look like. There's quite a bit to these little devices. The video is a little bit long, but let's get right to it. Right here is the shutter release. So I'm going to attach actually an old Hasselblad cable release. I happen to like the Hasselblad cable releases as they actually have a nice swivel here and a little locking screw so you can keep the shutter open, and a nice big thumb pad there for releasing the shutter. So I'm just going to fire these. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. This cocking mechanism has two stages. Turn to the right, one click. Turn to the right, second click. Now what the first click does, when you have the lens attached, it allows the lens to set the shutter cock. The second click actually opens the diaphragm in the lens so that you can actually see through the flex body and out through the lens so you can focus. Now when you need to fire the camera, it's a two-stage process, and we'll get into that, but quickly right here, one click, real quick, that closes the diaphragm, and the second click fires the camera. That's it. Okay, so let me take this off so it doesn't actually make a noise as I'm rotating this camera body around. Right here, this rear plate can actually go up and down, and you do this by rotating this knob here, which is also a threaded screw. On the top of this knob is actually a spirit level with a bubble in there so you can get these absolutely vertical if you need to. Now right here, if I turn this will, well, let's just do it. Let me just undo the locking device and let me rotate this. You see that? To the camera. As I rotate it, you see how the back of the film plane tilts back, and if I go the other way, it tilts the other way. So that's pretty much it. So you can raise the rear of this up and down. You can tilt this backwards and forwards, and you can open up the bellows. Now, as we do all this, there's actually a bit of a scale here. This here is actually a mechanism for advancing the film. So let's go to the next stage. I'm going to attach an old Hasselblad lens, and I'm going to attach a Hasselblad film back. So I've just attached the lens to the flex body. Now, as with all Hasselblad 500 series type bodies, and the flex body is no exception, you need to cock the shutter to attach the lens. You must do that first, then you attach the lens. And that's pretty straightforward. It goes on exactly the same as it would on any Hasselblad 500 series body. Now, this mount is exactly the same type of mount to attach a film back. So let me just grab a film back here. Hasselblad, typical older style film back. Let me attach this. Very gentle, nice little click. You attach these as you would, same procedure as any Hasselblad 500 series camera, along with the dark slide. So that's what it looks like. Now these flex bodies, as you can see, look, there's the size of the film back, and the flex body is small. You can see it's not a huge thing. It's not heavy. It's not a great big bulky thing. So to actually transport around, definitely not bad. This will actually fit inside a little camera bag. In fact, when you buy these kits, Hasselblad gives you a nice little blue type canvas bag that goes with it. Now, those of you that are familiar with Hasselblad, you notice that there's no viewfinder. You can't see through this system right now. This is the film bag. So what we need to do is remove the film bag, and we need to attach an adapter which also holds the focusing screen, and then the viewfinder can actually attach to the back of this adapter. So here we go, take this off. Now, this is the adapter. You can see it's got a focusing screen. It also has a slot here. This actually removes. Now, the purpose of this particular piece of plastic is just has a hole in it, is actually when it's inserted in this slide, it actually blocks the light. It stops light leaking into the camera. So we'll just put this back. Now there's another purpose for this slot, and I'll get to that in a moment. So let's attach this. This actually mounts exactly the same way as a film bag. Little button on the side here, just give it a squeeze and that drops right on. So now let's attach the viewfinder. So I have here an older style 45-degree Hasselblad viewfinder. I love these, so bright, so well made. Let me attach this. Now, this just actually slides in, like so. So here it is. Now there is the camera with the viewfinder attached. So let's pretend that we now need to use it. So I'm just going to remove the front lens cap. Make sure this is in the vertical position. I will put this back to perhaps where it was, closed, lock that in place. Now, to use this camera straight through, no camera movements at all, everything is set as is. So remember, make sure this is cocked 2 times. This is now open all the way through, and if you actually look in through the front of the lens, you'll actually see the diaphragm is wide open. So then what you do, you now focus, just like you would, on your subject, calculate the exposure with your light meter, and then you need to lock the camera down. Let me just move this back a little bit so we can get a little more view there. You need to lock the camera down so it doesn't move, right? Then what you need to do is attach the film back. Well, the film back just clicks on here. We just remove this very quickly. It comes right off. Attach your film back. Almost ready to take the picture. You make sure your dark slide is in, obviously. Now, you know that when you cock this twice, the diaphragm's open, which means the light is going all the way through. So then you need to close the diaphragm before you take out the dark slide to prevent the light going to the film. Okay, here we go. Fast click. This spins around halfway. It actually reads closed. Now we take out the dark slide. Now you can expose the film. Second click. Put the dark slide back in. And then what you do, right here, you advance the film. You wind it till it stops. So pretty straightforward. So let's repeat the process a second time. Cock the shutter. One click, two clicks. Second click opens up the diaphragm. You can now see right through the camera. Next thing you do, you lock your camera down, everything's set solid. Now you've got to attach the film back to take the picture. Well, first of all, let's close the diaphragm so there's no stray light coming into the camera. So it's just one click only, not two clicks, one click only. Remove the viewfinder and the focusing screen. Add on the film back. Remove the dark slide. Fire up the picture. Put the dark slide back in. Rewind to the next frame. If you don't put the dark slide in, obviously you're going to get double exposure and all sorts of nonsense. So that part is easy. So let's go through some movements. Okay, this time I'm going to use some movement. So turn the shutter mechanism, two clicks, cocks the shutter, and then opens up the diaphragm. Now you can see through the camera. Everything looks nice and bright. Focus. Now let's say you need to do some camera movements. Okay, as I rotate this backwards, the image goes very, very dark, and you can't focus on the focusing screen because everything is so dark. Well, Hasselblad has that all figured out, and what they do, they tell you to remove this frame, which is just a clear frame, and then they tell you to insert a correction frame. It's the same frame, except there's a piece of glass or plastic in there that will correct the light to make it more bright. Now this particular one is 10 degrees. So if you're somewhere between 0 and 10 degrees tilt, then what you do, you take the 10 degrees, you put it in this slot, make sure the writing is facing the rear of the camera. You look through, and the image becomes nice and bright again. You can focus really well. It corrects it perfectly. Now, if you need to go to maximum adjustment, there is another slide that goes to 20 degrees. There's two of these. And they look exactly the same, but they are marked differently. This one is now marked 20 degrees. So you do the same thing. You put it in there, and the image will be nice and bright. So let's say you want to go the other way. You've got this slide in there, you go the other way. Now what you'll notice, when you go the other way, the image goes black again, goes dark. Easy. What you do now is take out the same slide. So let's assume that you're between 10 and 20 degrees of movement, writing to the back of the camera, and you actually insert it into the slot on the other side, and that fixes the darkness. That's all there is to it. So you can now go ahead, focus, get everything set up, lock your camera steady, take this off, put the film back on, and take your photograph. Very straightforward. Now, if you need to go back to the vertical position, All you need to do is take out the slide, no problem, and put the clear plastic slide. This is basically just a light blocker. It's actually called a stray light protection slide, and that's because there's a slot here and the light is leaking in. You put this in, doesn't matter what side, and it just stops the light. So that's it.